Hello and welcome to the Every Girl Wins Life Literacy Show. And on today's show, I have Carolyne Opinde with NGO Whisperer. She is absolutely an amazing woman. She's a publisher of her own magazine, NGO Magazine. She's also has master classes for her NGO Whisperer classes. So I am so honored to have you today, Carolyne. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Yes, and she's coming from London, so she's speaking for all the girls around the world, from London. And we today we're going to be talking about some great things that's going on, and we'll be talking about the five ultimate gifts of life literacy, and those gifts are identify, understand, create, collaborate, and communicate. So those will be the five, and I call those the five ultimate gifts of life literacy because this is what women around the world and young girls need to know in order to strategize their life to succeed in life. So Carolyne, the NGO Whisperer, tell us just a little bit about business.
Thank you so much, Christine. We are honored to be here, and I'm right now in Manchester, in United Kingdom, a little bit, far away from London, about 2 hours away from London. So that is where the NGO Whisperer is currently based in the United Kingdom. So about ourselves, we are a consulting business that provides technical support to nonprofits so they can successfully impact people's lives. There are 6 ways that we provide support to nonprofits. The first one being resource mobilization, the second one being project management support. The third one is organizational management. The fourth one is enterprise-wide risk management and compliance to rules and regulations, whether they are set up by the donors, governments, or any NGO or nonprofit coordinating bodies. The fifth one is masterclasses, as you had mentioned, and coaching for nonprofit leaders and their teams. And lastly, you mentioned these two, and this is the NGO Whisperer magazine and the show where we showcase men and women who are making an impact in people's lives around the world. So in a nutshell, that is what the NGO Whisperer provides or is all about.
So the NGO Whisperer, as you're describing it, it sounds like to me for nonprofits, it's like a whole box that's already customized, and you have that box for everyone. Anything that they need to start nonprofits, that's what you have for them. It's a more of a nonprofit in a box.
Absolutely, absolutely. You may also call it the NGO Whisperer model of sustainable nonprofits. That's what we call our model, and it has those 6 pillars.
And because when they come to you, what it sounds like to me is you are allowing them to not go out on their own, but you have all the resources right there for them.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
Because a lot of companies, what ends up happening with them is, I'm giving this service, but you'll have to go out and figure the rest of it out, right?
Yes, we have identified these 6 pillars, and of course, there's a lot of stuff that nonprofits need beyond the 6 pillars that we have provided. But for us, the model that we call the NGO Whisperer is more like a model to provide technical support to organizations that may already exist or may not. So, right. For example, Christine, if you want to start a nonprofit and you come to us and you say, I would like to start a nonprofit to support girls, for example, then we would sit down with you and design a program for the ideas that you have, and then help you to register it with the relevant body in your country. So in the United States, it's registering with the IRS. In Kenya, for example, it's the registration with the NGO coordination body. And so this registration process is a legal process for your ideas to move away from just being an idea to actually being an existing nonprofit and entity. Then we take it from there. We'll help you to raise funds, design projects, raise funds for them, and help you with the leadership structure, coaching, and management. So most of our clients, Dr. Christine, they work with us on a weekly basis to address different issues. Of course, there are those clients who come to us and they say they want support on one specific thing, like coaching or master classes, and we provide that support. But majority of our clients, they get a whole bouquet of services. So we work with them on a weekly basis. We see them on a weekly basis.
I love that. I mean, I love what you do. I mean, when I see you and I watch you on Facebook, I mean, we met at the beginning of this year on Facebook through Clyde Rivers. And when I watch you and I see you grow, and I see what such a successful woman that you are, I mean, it just warms my heart because, you know, I know how hard it is as a woman to be where you're at today. You know, it takes a lot. I tell people it takes a lot of hard work and it takes a lot of patience to be, but you are very successful. And, you know, I'm glad and honored to know you as such a successful woman that you are.
I am glad to know you as well. Thank you.
Yeah. And so when I say 5 ultimate gifts of life literacy, and I say the word identify, and I say the word understand, what does that mean in your life as a gift?
As a gift in my life, when you speak about identify, the first thing that pops in my mind is to identify my area of gifting. And identifying my area of gifting is something that I did with one of my coaches a while back. So in the process of wanting to do good and everything, I found myself all over the place. And I had to focus on one thing. What is the one thing that I want to do and to do it well? At one point, someone asked me, is it really important to be be full of passion and to want to do something just based on your passion? I said, of course, yes. You need passion, but you need to go beyond passion. You need to go into your area of expertise. You can be passionate about singing, but you don't have the voice to sing. Therefore, you won't bless people with your voice. You can sing and make yourself happy and those you live with. But if you want to make a career and be a blessing to people, then you need to identify your area of expertise, technical skills that match your passion. Then once you have done that again, you need to identify some area of business that draws or makes an income out of what you have. So you have 3 concentric circles that are kind of like joined together. And one is passion. What are you passionate about? How do you find out? How do you identify your passion? Number 1, you look at things that irritate you. For example, there are people who they walk into a room and they feel like arranging or rearranging the room. So they have a passion in getting things in order or putting things in order. Then identify your area of expertise. So maybe you have studied accounting. Maybe you've studied to be a teacher or something like that. Then you think, okay, I like things to be in order. I've studied to be, you know, an accountant, or I am a teacher, or I am a doctor. But then you don't feel comfortable being in a space where you are constricted by rules and regulations of the body that you're working with. And you're thinking of stepping into setting up your own business. So then you can, from what you are doing as a doctor, working in a public hospital, to setting up, for example, a private clinic that has standard operating procedures that align to your passion. And that's how you come to find out there are doctors who, when you go to their practice, there are specific things that they do which is different from other doctors. It's not that they went to a different school of medicine. It's just that they have a passion and a leaning towards something. So, for example, you would think of a teacher who has started a school, or someone who had a passion for children, started a school, identified their passion in working with children, but focusing on early childhood development. So they will set up a business that is focusing on early childhood development, and the way they treat those children is far much different from the school nearby or the next early childhood development center. So identifying your passion, looking at the skills that you have or the skills that you need to turn that passion into a profitable and a sustainable business, and then putting in structures in place to ensure that your passion is not a dead passion that's taking you into debt, but it is an income generating passion. That's what I would think of when I think of identifying my areas of gifting.
I absolutely love that. So when I say that identify, it's one of the life literacy elements of Every Girl Wins. And what we go and do with identification is identifying who you are. And that's the very beginning, because we work from the inside to the outside. We bring it out in you, what's stopping you, we identify what's inside of what's stopping us in life to live our passion in life. And as a little girl or a young lady that's listening right now, let's say a teenage girl from the age of 15 up, what would you say to her about, finding her identity, not just, for business, but her identity, herself, to be able to live her passion?
There are so many tools that can be used, but I would imagine a 13, 14, 15-year-old girl who is in a rural area, maybe even a disadvantaged community where they may not even have access to some of the tools that we use in finding out who we are, like your Myers-Briggs kind of tools. I would first and foremost say this to that girl. Every one of us is unique. No matter where you are, no matter your socioeconomic background, whether you speak fluent English or not, whether you can articulate yourself, whether you are living with any disability, whether you are deaf, blind, lame, on a wheelchair, or have a degenerative infection or disease or whatever it is, every one of us is unique. Yeah. And in your uniqueness comes gift and talents that have been bestowed upon you. And it's for you to find out for yourself. And one of the easiest way, without even using a lot of scientific tools, is actually to ask people around you. When you see me, what do you see? Of course, some people will say positive things, some people will say negative things. Write down everything that people tell you. What do you see in me? Then people will tell you, I see someone who's like this, I see someone who's like that. Then sit down and look at those things adjectives that people have used to describe you. Think about what irritates you, as I mentioned before. Our gifting and our talent is for us to make this world a better place. So as a young girl of 13, 14 years old, look around you. What really irritates you? You might say, I don't like it when people are not at peace with each other. I just love it when we all collaborate and we're happy and all that. And another girl would say, I really like to put my point across and let people know what I want to say. And I like to discuss and debate and do all these things. And another one will say, I really like to talk to people when they're down and low. I uplift them And I always hang out with people who are not feeling well, and I help them. At that age, 13, 14, 15, 16, you can already begin to see that maybe one of these girls is going to turn out to be a lawyer because she likes to debate and give her opinion and is never offended in a heated argument because they just like to express themselves.
Yes,
Another one could be preparing themselves to be either a minister, meaning pastor, or even a doctor or a nurse, because they like to help people to feel better. So they're beginning to align themselves with certain roles and responsibilities, jobs, opportunities. And another one might just be interested in being odd and making things and putting things in order. And that could be an accountant or an administrator or a project manager like me, helping organizations put things in order. Then you as a young girl, now I'm speaking to young girls, once you have identified these things people have told you, now find out what is it that gives you so much joy, because there could be many things, there could be 3 or 4 things. Then find out what is it that gives you joy. Once you find out that, then look at what you're studying at school. I would imagine these girls are in school. Then get support from your teachers or someone in school and tell them, I'm leaning towards this kind of things. What subjects should I focus in? Now, sometimes, Dr. Christine, the problem comes with guardians and parents because they want the best for their children. And sometimes some children are not really great in some subjects. And you just keep on pushing them and pushing them. Oh, you have to study this and you have to be a lawyer and you have to do that. And you're telling someone who prefers to be an accountant locked in a room in an office dealing with numbers to be a lawyer standing in court every day speaking, and they're not comfortable doing that. Not to say that they cannot be public speakers or speak in front of people, but that is not their sweetest spot. They are not at their best. So finding out this, again, listening to your teachers, speaking with your parents, and letting your parents know, mom, dad, uncle, auntie, grandmother, grandpa, I'm leaning towards this kind of thing. What do you think I should do? And having that conversation, it's very important. Wow. And also for organizations like Every Girl Wins Institute that's working with girls, helping girls to understand there's nothing wrong with wanting to be something that your parents don't want you to be. So having that understanding that first and foremost, you are a unique whole person, the way you are, just the way you are unique. You are gifted, you have passion, and that passion is not dependent on your parents. It is a God-given passion for you to fulfill your God-ordained mission and vision on this planet Earth. Then the technical skills are things that you can build up and learn through coaches, mentors, teachers, formal, informal education system. So that's how a young girl can begin to identify their area of gifting wherever they are.
Wow, I absolutely love that. We got some echo. I apologize. Really hear it. But it's absolutely amazing, at what you do and identifying, because it's so important for a young girl to identify of who they are. And I actually had a conversation earlier with another interview I had earlier, and that's the one thing that they had stated was for, find something that gives you joy. Like so many people will start businesses and they're not happy. They're not happy. So when you said that, I was like, this is the second time that I've heard this today about, finding, something to do that makes you happy, that gives you joy, and, that identifies with you and who you are, as a person. So thank you for that advice. So the next thing that I want to talk to you about, Carolyne, is, for the International Every Girl Wednesday, which is celebrated on March the 13th. and we will be celebrating that. Next year in so many countries. We've doubled countries than we thought we did this year. And what we stand for is we stand for equal rights for women and young girls around the world, for all females. And what we stand for entrepreneurship. We also stand for entrepreneurship, life literacy, economic life literacy, healthcare life literacy. We also stand for, healthcare life literacy. And so what I want to talk to you about is economic life literacy. So, and the reason I want to talk to you about that is because of the nonprofit that you handle. And you handle with a lot of finances and things like that with economic. Why is it so important for women and females around the world to just learn the basics of financial life literacy?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Christine. That's a great question. Research shows that households where mothers or female heads of the household are financially literate, those households tend to be financially stable. That's according to research that has been conducted. So many of the programs that we are implementing across the globe. Many of the homes where there is lack of financial literacy among women, and financial literacy does not mean illiteracy does not mean someone is not literate. I know homes where people have a master's level of degree or they are PhD holders, but when it comes to their personal finances, they cannot even tell you what their monthly budget is because they do not have financial literacy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that when you are educated with a bachelor's degree, a master's level degree, a PhD holder, that you are financially literate and you are good in handling your money. So one of the most important things that most of the nonprofits I work with women do is they have a module on financial literacy, helping women, girls, mostly their beneficiaries, which cuts across all the genders and population groups for people who are at least 10 to 49 or over. And they provide training and coaching in the area of financial literacy, and it varies. It varies from, basic knowledge. What is your monthly income? What is your monthly expenditure? Live within your means, save a certain percentage, invest, pay your debt, starting with the lowest debt to the highest debt, and you move that way. So those are simple tools. But then it moves further to, some organizations where they now begin to train people on how to invest. How do you invest your savings? Because savings are savings. They are sitting somewhere in a bank account, earning very little interest. Then savings can be invested, and that's where we have wealth advisors who come in to support the women to invest in property, in agribusiness, in whatever it is that they are passionate about. The most important thing is to teach our young ones, not to wait until someone is 30. That's when they step into a financial literacy class or financial literacy coaching. The most important thing for us as we do this, as I mentioned, we start them young at the age of 10. A number of my nonprofits that I work with, not my nonprofits really, but nonprofits that the NGO Whisperer works with, they start with young children as young as 9, 10 years old.
Wow.
And they just teach them basic skills in spending their pocket money or whatever amount of money that they're given to make sure that they save. Even if it's just saving $1 out of the $5 that you are given.
Right.
And those are important skills that if one learned them when they were young, nothing is going to prevent them. Of course, there are things that happen and people have over expenditure and everything, but that is going to take them through life. I give you a small testimonial from my side, Dr. Christine. When I was 5 years old, I remember my dad gave me 1 Kenyan shilling. 1 Kenyan shilling in dollars, I don't even know what it is. It's very, I mean, you can't even, because a dollar is about 100 Kenyan shillings.
Yes.
So divide that by 100.
Yeah, that's why I have a currency thing.
Very little. Yeah. So it's not even one dime. It's like a tenth of a dime. So think of it this way. My dad gave me 1 Kenyan shilling, and I remember we had toffees, and with 1 Kenyan shilling back then, when I was growing up in the 80s, a toffee was a 10 cent. So with 1 Kenyan shilling, I could buy 10 toffees. So you could go to a shop and say, I would like 10 toffees with your Kenyan shilling, and you would get 10 toffees or ball gums, they're chewing gums. It's candy. Okay. So my dad told me, when I give you 1 shilling, I want you to give the Lord a tithe, which is a tenth of your shilling. So I would go, he would give it to me in cents. It doesn't work anyway these days because of the currency and inflation and everything. This doesn't work anymore. So for young ones who are listening to us, 15, 16-year-old, you'll be thinking and saying, what? Well, I'm just sharing my story here. So then I would keep that 10 cent. That is for the Lord. That is my tithe. Then my dad told me, I want you to save 20% of anything you earn. So 20% I saved. So 2 cents I saved it. And then I have 70 cents to do whatever I want to do. But then he told me, don't spend it all on things that you want. First buy what you need. Of course, as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, you'd look around and you think, what do I need? My parents feed me, they do this, they do that. Then I remembered, I can actually buy people gifts. I may not need it, but maybe somebody else needs it. So then I started buying people things, like things they needed, not necessarily what I needed. And at that point, it created in me this mentality, and it normalized the habit of giving tithe, the habit of saving, and the habit of addressing your needs before your wants. And because of that, I have been able to live within these principles. Of course, sometimes I didn't really, I bought some once, I must confess. There are times when I bought some once, but that created in me this knowledge, deep knowledge and understanding of the importance of actually having all this, and any amount of money that I receive, I tithe, I save, I pay for my needs, and then the rest goes to the wants. So there are things that I have never bought in my life just because I never thought they were important, so I never bought them.
Wow. That's very, very impressive. I mean, because here in America, they don't, and I apologize for the feedback and getting some feedback on my end. I'm not sure exactly why, so I'm apologizing that for in advance. But here in America, they don't teach financial literacy here. And that's one thing that I think that they should do in school at a very early age, is to teach financial literacy. They need to teach how to even balance a checkbook. That's what they need to do, and how to budget things. They don't do any of that. And that's one thing that I feel like I know that needs to be in every school system in the world. is financial literacy. It's, especially for females around the world, that they need that and things like that. But absolutely amazing. So that's great advice. So thank you so much. So my next one is we also have a plant garden project with the Every Girl Women. And the Plant to Garden project, what that does, I came up with that during the COVID, is because most girls around the world, most females around the world, they were starving and dying more than they were, dying from the COVID. So we came up with that for girls and females around the world to be able to plant a garden for themselves, not just to put food on their table, but to also be able to sell that produce and make extra income for their families and for their families. So that's when we plant a garden project. So what is your thought on projects like that around the world for females, for them to better themselves and for especially livelihood? What is your thought on that?
Thank you so much, Dr. Christine. That is a really great project. I have a number of clients who are implementing small garden projects, and some of them are implementing an agribusiness project focusing on women and their families. In fact, yesterday I was in a meeting with one of my clients in South Africa that is implementing this project, working with informal settlement communities and communities that come from very low income communities. In South Africa, we call them informal settlements or townships. So it is a great project in the sense that, number one, as you said, during COVID-19, so many people were hungry simply because they live from hand to mouth. They go to work. They earn something closer to, I don't know, 150 rand per day, which could be equivalent to about what? Divide by 15 now, that would be about $15 or between 10 to 15, depending on the exchange rate. And you would imagine with that amount of money, they would buy food, come home and buy a bus ticket, and then tomorrow it's the same thing. Yeah. When COVID hit, they lost their jobs, they couldn't go to work, and as a result, there was no income coming in. And what do you expect for those families to do at that point? Starving. People were literally starving. They didn't have food. And they didn't have food simply because they come from disadvantaged communities. And so what happened in South Africa is there was a lot of food parcels given to communities and to homes where people were starving. But that is like putting a Band-Aid on a broken limb. We need to solve the deep-seated issues. Yeah. And the issues there is no food security. So training these communities, especially mothers, again, like I mentioned, when the mother in the family or the female head of the family is empowered, it goes to say that the entire family will be well catered for. This is research, and we can sit and debate and say, oh, but even when men are empowered, they empower, it's not the same. But we're not going to discuss that today. So just the research and practice and evidence has just shown that. And above all else, there are more women than men in certain communities around the world. Well, in some countries, there are more males than females, but in majority of the countries around the world, and in most of the communities that I work in, there are more women than men. So it makes sense to educate the most vulnerable, the most marginalized, the majority of the community when it comes to this. And we don't push men away. The project that I'm referring to has men, but majority of them are women.
Yes. Now, besides the Plant a Garden project, to bring food in, this will be my last question, to bring food, to help. What is it that you see? I mean, working in the nonprofit, as a nonprofit industry, the NGO, what other things are you seeing for females around the world that they are needing be able to sustain and support themselves without struggling? What is it that you see?
Can you repeat the question again?
Besides we have the Plant the Garden project, people, going hungry and everything. And as an NGO with it, what is it for females around the world? What is it what you're seeing besides the hunger? What is it that you're seeing that needs to be addressed, basically, for females around the world, for them to stop struggling and to be able to succeed?
One of the most important things, regardless of people's socioeconomic status, that I see with women is educating them and help them to see the value in who they are, and to see themselves as people in the society who can take up any role as leaders in any sphere of life, whether it's in the community, whether it's in a business, whether it's in a large multinational company, that you as a woman, you are a representative of the rest of us. And when you do well, you are telling the world that it is possible for a woman to do that. Yeah. So when I see girls excelling in what we are talking about, young girls, when I see a girl excelling in education and doing well in subjects that were previously regarded as male kind of subjects like mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, you are sending a message out there that girls can do it. Girls are winning in that area. And it's now beginning to change the narrative of things where people would say, but, she's a girl. People would say things like that. So when you are great at cycling, for example, and you cycle and you win competitions and all that, and you have really good seeding or time or whatever it is, the message that you're sending out there as a young girl is girls can cycle. If it's a motorbike, whatever it is. If you are a doctor or a surgeon, a good friend of mine is one of the few female Black surgeons in South Africa, and at her level. And she's sending a message that a Black young woman can be a great surgeon. So confidence is number one. You can be anything. You set your mind, prepare, and do. Do not wait for affirmative actions to be pushed and be put in position just because they are looking for a woman. Work hard. And if it's getting straight A's, work hard and get straight A's, just like the boys are working hard and getting the straight A's. So you don't have to be pushed through the system through affirmative action. Yes, I know there is a place for affirmative action. However, I also want girls to send this message out there to say, we can be great at this. You are going into business. Do the best that you can do so that no man and males can tell you, oh, they gave you just that position because they just wanted a woman in the boardroom. No, you deserve it and you work hard. And when you are there, number two, Dr. Christine, is when you are there, bring other women with you. Mentor them, support them. So pave the way, but don't be happy and excited when you're there. Someone once said this. People say that it is lonely at the top. Why do they say that? They say it is lonely at the top because they don't want anyone to come to their level.
Yes. And I've always said it this way. I said, people that are at the top, why they're lonely is because they forgot to bring other people with them. And that's where when you're, I taught, climb the ladder, lift as you climb, as you're climbing that ladder, because you don't want to be lonely at that top. Bring people with you. bring them with you, because it's plenty of everything in this world to go around for everybody. I said there's 7.8 billion people in this world. There's enough for everybody. Just bring people with you. Just bring them with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. One more thing I wanted to say is with the NGO Whisperer magazine, we have purposely focused on featuring females, and we also focus on featuring females working in organizations that are uplifting people. So if you look at the cover of the NGO Whisperer, we have featured, majority of the people we have featured are female. I believe there's only one man who's ever been on the cover, and it's because he was part of a group where we featured the top 5 winners of the next Global Impactor. Otherwise, we deliberately focus on featuring women on the cover. In the magazine, we feature men, but on the cover, we want to show the world that women can be on covers of magazines as great leaders, executives of nonprofits, and world changers. Because most often than not, in those kinds of positions, it's a little bit lonely because you can count the number of women leading great nonprofits or corporations. There's so many men, but women, when I see them, I want them on the cover of the NGO Whisperer magazine.
Yes, and see, I agree with you 100%. With the Evergirl wins, we have, I say feminists and we have women advocates, and I'm an advocate for women around the world. And I'm actually on International Evergirl Wednesday, I'm awarding men. Because men know the value of females and young ladies around the world. So we can't disregard, males in the world, because some of them are our biggest supporters on that.
Let me add something on that, Dr. Christine. It's very important in every project that is empowering women to allow men to come in also as beneficiaries. So if you are empowering a woman in the area of financial literacy, ask her to bring her partner, male partner, into the meetings that you're having so they can see. They don't have to come every day, but you can set aside certain modules where the partners or the couples come together. That is very important because we come from patriarchal societies and all that, and most of these homes where women need financial literacy trainings, men are usually the sole breadwinners. Yes. And if you are educating the woman, this man needs to understand my wife, my girlfriend, my spouse, my partner is now requesting or demanding certain things because of the knowledge that she has acquired. And if you don't engage men, the problem is it creates division in the homes, in the communities, and men begin to see their spouses, their partners as enemies because they are demanding for things because they now have new knowledge. And sometimes there's a lack of wisdom when someone is learning something new because they are so overzealous. And the men think, but I have been providing for you. Why do you want us to start budgeting? Oh, why do you want now to start knowing how money is spent in this home when I've been providing for you? And then it creates conflict. When both parties are educated, then it helps the home to grow and grow even faster and better than, just educating the woman. So male involvement in every aspect of nonprofit work that we do, whether it's HIV prevention, agribusiness, or whatever it is, engaging men is really important. And even having male champions, men who have achieved a certain level of success in the community, championing for the program would be a great thing to have if you're implementing any work in any community.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you 100%, Caroline, on that. We can't, they have to be in our lives. And for them to understand us, we have to have them with us when we're doing certain things better in our lives. For them to understand. I totally agree with you on that. So I'm going to thank some of our viewers today. Caroline, we have Reverend Dorcas Kabad, that's from Kenya. She says, go beyond passion. And we have Rhonda Mooney. I'm not sure where Rhonda's from. She's talking about passion from the beginning. Then we have Mark guardians make, forcing their children to see parts they have no interest in. And then we have Kim Jacobs with great info, Carolyn. And then we have Diana, which is from Kenya. And then we have Lisa Hickman. She says young women need to understand that a wise woman surrounds herself with women who have the wisdom and knowledge she is seeking. And then we have Diana from Kenya that says confidence is key. A girl or woman can be anything she wants to be. And one of them who is working hard to be a great lady, the future is female. Let us empower our young girls and empower girls is an empowered nation. So thank you for listening to us today, and I apologize for the echoing. So we will try to fix that the next time that we get on the show. So, but we're going to do that. But thank you again, Caroline, for everything. And if you want to know more about Every Girl Wins Institute, go to everygirlwins.com. Check out our life literacy program, and one of our master trainers will get with you and talk with you, and get you on the journey to success in life. If you have any questions for Caroline, put those in the comments or message me, and I can send those to Caroline. If you want to know anything else about starting a nonprofit, get a hold of Caroline, and she will be happy to help you get that nonprofit started. So again, thank you again, and also go to our social media and like our social media on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be on your show, Dr. Christine.